Witness, good morning. It's 7:20 a.m. It's February 13th, 1995, Monday morning. We're outside your door with a federal seizure order. We're trying to serve. If you're hearing this, please come to the door. We'd like to talk to you about it. Thank you.
I was having my coffee and was online reading my internet when there was some banging at my door. So I opened the door, and there were 20, 25 people outside, people in vans and stuff. One uniformed policeman, and he said I had to let him in. They had a warrant to use any force necessary to perform the seizure. The officer gave me the papers. It was about a stack of papers like this. The documents looked valid. It looked like it was signed by a judge, and that they had a right to go through anything in my house to determine if I had any of their copyrighted materials. So I showed them to my computer. They sat here for 6 hours working at my computer, deleting what they wanted, copying what they wanted, scanning my hard disk and my floppy disks. I tried to get them to let me inventory what they were taking. They wouldn't do that. I couldn't look at what they were taking. I couldn't see the files that they were deleting or copying, and they just left.
This is a story about copyright law and the balance between the rights of creators and the rights of others to access and comment on their work. The court action following the raid on Ehrlich's house will be a test case for copyright law in the digital domain. But the plaintiff is no ordinary software company. The injunction was granted to corporations owned by the Church of Scientology, a new religion founded by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in the late 50s.
Bridge Publications is a publishing company. It primarily publishes works by L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology. The issue here really is that certain people, like Dennis Ehrlich, are attempting to make intellectual property rights not apply to the Internet or to use of materials on the Internet.
I was a minister of Scientology for about 15 years, from 1969 to 82, and I was excommunicated for attempting to bring about reform within the cult of the practices that I felt were barbaric and harmful, and so since then I have been speaking out about my experiences and letting people know about the activities that go on within the closed confines of the inner cult that is Scientology.
The way Scientology works, it has gradient levels of spiritual awareness and teachings and courses and so forth, studies. And when you do one, then you can go on to the next. And to a certain point, they're open to anyone. And then above that point, you must have done the prior level in order to receive access to the next level. And from that level on, they are kept confidential.
These steps to total spiritual freedom that they're selling to people, they consider them commodities. They're commodities of trade, and for this reason they're trying to assert that they are trade secrets, and I'm violating some trade secret by exposing what I was trained on as a minister of their, quote, religion. The story is that 75 million years ago, people were transported to Earth and hydrogen bombs were set off, and then they were implanted with 36 days worth of images and concepts. They sell these things as secrets, and they don't want them known because people would just laugh at them if they knew, and they wouldn't pay if they knew what they were to begin with.
He has done wholesale posting of pages and pages of materials. You could even call it copyright terrorism. He's just saying, I can just slap these materials onto the Internet. You know, I put them into this digital form and I can do whatever I want with them. And it's just not true. The law doesn't permit him to do that.
Scientology is big business in Los Angeles, claiming the allegiance of top stars. But for many, the idea of a religion that is prepared to use the law to keep its scriptures secret is bizarre. The internet news group alt-religion Scientology is a thorn in the cult's side, an online discussion of its beliefs and practices. When Dennis Ehrlich started posting to it in autumn '94, the Scientologist response exposed one of the problems of applying copyright law to the internet.
I got several letters from from their law firm. They were going to come in and take my computer if I didn't stop posting their copyrighted materials to internet. And I said, well, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. What text are you talking about that I'm quoting? And what claim do you have to that text? You know, it was a sort of a sensible, I thought, you know. They claimed that I was violating their rights. I want to know what specifically.
If it were the case that they had shown that there were specific instances of information that they owned through copyright and trade secrets that was being put out on the net, that wouldn't be a very interesting case for the Electronic Frontier Foundation. We got involved with this case because this is a freedom of speech case. This is a case of, do we shut up people who say things that we don't like what they're saying because we don't like what they're saying? And do we go after system operators who have no control over the content of the messages that their users are putting out there in order to shut up detractors?
Ehrlich accesses the internet through another computer, a community bulletin board system run by Tom Clemmersrud. Having failed to deter Ehrlich, the Scientologist turned on him.
I was sitting here one afternoon and got a telephone call from a woman claiming to be Helena Colbran. Later, she sent me a message, an email message saying, Dennis Ehrlich has been posting copyrighted material, so on and so forth. I replied to her, please provide me with a copy of the copyrighted material so I can compare, and I will be fair. If it's anywhere similar, I'll delete it from the BBS. And that is my legal responsibility, and I certainly would. I don't want to break any laws here. And she sent me a second message saying, that's not good enough. No, you have to kick Dennis Ehrlich off the system.
We tried to explain to Mr. Clemmersrud, you know, what Mr. Ehrlich was doing and what the problems were. And Mr. Clemmersrud, there were a couple of communications back and forth with him, but his bottom line was get a court order. So we didn't have much choice on that.
Colbran obtained restraining orders on Tom Clemmersrud and on Netcom, his internet access provider, preventing them from transmitting any material whose copyright might belong to the Church of Scientology.
Now, I have no way of knowing what is copyrighted by L. Ron Hubbard, and nobody at Netcom knows what is copyrighted by L. Ron Hubbard. And in fact, if we were to follow that judge's restraining order to the full letter of the law, Netcom would have had to shut down, and I would have had to turn off the power on the system.
This is a test case on law as it pertains to the internet. This is the SysOp liability case. It is going to go to the heart of network communications. Our system operator is going to be held liable for the posts of users. If they are held liable in a case like this, it means that system operators are going to start engaging in censorship.
Preliminary hearings of the case are set for June, with a probable trial date of January '96. Whatever one thinks of the Church of Scientology, their actions highlight the many difficulties of applying copyright law to the internet, a medium with a long cherished tradition of freedom of speech.
I don't think there's a freedom of speech issue, or if there's any freedom of speech issue, it's the freedom to create and you know, to create intellectually and to have intellectual properties, because that, for many people, is not only their speech, but it's the way they support themselves.
What it will involve, if they win, then every group that doesn't want their doctrine exposed, or every criminal agency that doesn't want their internal documents exposed, will have a right to come in and tell you what you can have on your hard disk, virtually, because that's what they've done to me.